Hello guys, after reviewing so many smartphones this year, I had to make the best buy list. So this is our shopping guide and check the rest of the video. First, I'll start with cheap smartphones. What I mean when I say cheap, I mean above $150. Now, usually smartphones above $150, if they're new, they have a cheap plastic, they have a small screen with lower resolution, and they're not really a usable smartphone if you ask me. The only smartphone that's really cheap and that's about $100 and a few dollars is last year's Nokia Lumia 520. Why not 530? This new one has virtual keys as a part of the screen, not below the screen, and the design is not as good as it was last year. So Lumia 520 is the best cheap smartphone if you ask me. Windows Phone will offer you just enough applications and they'll work just fine and fast enough on that Windows operating system, which is not the case on cheaper Androids that work a bit slower and usually get blocked. The second best and cheap smartphone is still the iPhone 4S. It's a pretty old phone, but on that 3.5-inch display, it's the best that you will find. Cameras are decent enough, so you'll get pretty usable images. Regarding Android, there may be some HTC Desire phone that is recommendable, but I wouldn't recommend 2014 smartphones from HTC, but I would recommend 2013 smartphones from HTC Desire series, because again, they didn't have virtual keys as a part of the screen, they had it below the screen, and now in 2014 they all messed it up. So the best cheap smartphone is Alcatel One Touch Idol 2. You can buy the Idol 1 version, it's pretty much the same, but it's the best thin phone with huge 5-inch display and works pretty smooth. You get all the Android features you want. So for me, if I had a limited budget, I'd go right now and I'd buy the Alcatel Idol 2. Also, there is one cheaper phone that's not really so cheap. It's just cheap compared to the high-end smartphones, and it still has the high-end specifications. It's the LG Nexus 5. Moving on to the next section, the best smartphones with a big screen. I mean, phablets. I'm not going to be talking about big screen, new, high, expensive smartphones. I'm going to be talking about cheaper smartphones with a big screen. I know that you guys who use Apple will buy again Apple, and it's definitely time to buy iPhone 6. It has finally a bigger screen, or a 6 Plus, although I think that iOS cannot use the icons and the interface that Apple offered. So iPhone 6 is just good enough. It has a bigger screen than previous iPhones. It has a slightly larger battery, so it's definitely an upgrade. But regarding Android, the new phone with big screen that I like the most is Sony Xperia T3. It has a long-lasting battery, more than 2 days. It's very thin in profile. It's the best smartphone that you will find. It's not a high pixel density 5.3-inch display, but the pixel density is just good enough. One other smartphone with Android that I think about is an older Galaxy Note 3. Why? Because the new Note 4 didn't really surprise me as I expected it to. It's bigger, bulkier, so I still like the previous Note 3. If you have money for that old used Note 3, you should definitely buy it. It was the best phone in 2013 and in the first beginning of 2014. Two other phones from LG also have bigger screens, but in start they were very expensive. It's LG G2, has a long-lasting battery, pretty good screen, similar to Nexus 5, but LG G Flex, his price dropped very much. I just love that phone. It's a bit curved display. It's one of the best phablets that you will find on the market. The third category are the phones with the best cameras. Now, regarding camera on a smartphone, you have to know that it's a small size device, so a big lens cannot fit into it, a big sensor cannot fit into it. So the biggest difference between the camera quality is the size of the sensor and the quality of the lens inside. Sometimes they're plastic. Sony Xperia advanced models like Xperia Z3 or Z3 Compact or Z1, they use glass. iPhone also uses glass lens, while other cheaper phones use plastic. The best camera smartphone was absolutely Nokia Lumia 1020, but I don't think it's for sales anymore, and it has that Windows Phone. So regarding camera, absolutely the best phone is iPhone 5S. Front and back camera are very good. He's not that expensive anymore, so if you want to do a bunch of selfies, if you want to snap images of your family, if you travel a lot, the battery will be an issue, but the camera on iPhone 5S is really great. Other phones like Xperia Z3, Z3 Compact, or Galaxy S5, or Galaxy Alpha, or Note 4 still have very good cameras, both front and back cameras. LG G3 also. It's a slightly lower quality than what you get on iPhone 5S or on Lumia 1020. Still, those images are very good for traveling, for family usage. You'll be satisfied. You'll see a bit more noise on those photos, but they're pretty good cameras. If you ask me which is the best cheap smartphone with great camera, I'd say there is none. Why? Because the components for camera, for high quality camera, are expensive and they cannot fit into a cheap smartphone. In the end, there are 3 smartphones this 2014 that really excited me, that I would buy right now. If it doesn't matter how much money, those are the 3 best phones you can find. Number 1 or number 3 is iPhone 6. All the iPhone lovers will have to buy the iPhone 6, a longer lasting battery and bigger screen. Okay, I would think about buying iPhone 6, but it's not as good as LG G3. Now LG really surprised me this year because they weren't that good before. G2 was a good smartphone, but it wasn't as good as LG G3. It's a phablet with a big screen, with a very powerful chipset, with great front and back camera. If you want a big screen, if you want powerful cameras, if you want a long-lasting battery, LG G3 is the ultimate smartphone. It's better than Note 4. I thought that Note 4 was going to be the best, but Samsung kind of disappointed me. And the one smartphone, number 1 for me this year, is the Sony Xperia Z3 Compact. It's a smaller 4.6-inch display. It's very compact, it looks beautiful, it's waterproof, it has great cameras, a long-lasting battery, the Android looks astonishing. So Z3 Compact is the device that I buy this year with no doubt. I want to see in the comments what you bought and what you're thinking of buying, and if you don't agree with me, feel free to write it down in comments. Thanks for watching, and till the next guide in 2015.